Before we get into the latest Cowboys rumors here, if you want Cowboys free agent targets this afternoon, then share today's video. We've got you covered with the latest rumors on the Cowboys. Multiple videos a day. If you want that second one this afternoon, share today's video on social media. We're going to begin with this report from a former NFL executive who says the Cowboys could make a push for a Deebo Samuel trade. Boy, doesn't that grab the attention and the headlines and the clicks when NFL Analysis Network puts it out. We will get to the accusation I am going to level at NFL Analysis Network here in a little bit, but here we go again with Deebo Samuel and the Dallas Cowboys. Remember the last time when Deebo Samuel was due for a contract and he was liking tweets about putting him in Dallas? Yeah, I remember that. I will say, I do believe that Deebo Samuel is on the market. I do believe he is potentially obtainable for an NFL franchise, given his current contract status, what the Niners have done in terms of their playmakers. They drafted 2 receivers on top of Ayuk and Deebo and Jawan Jennings and Danny Gray and Chris Conley and others. Deebo has missed time the past couple seasons with injuries. That's a big-time red flag there. Not hot take. He'd be the best running back on your roster. He'd also be one of your number 2 receiver, I think, pretty clearly. It makes it for a fun, hypothetical idea. I mean, I had made the half-hearted joke on social media, like, trade for Deebo, make him your running back. There are actual real issues with the logistics of this, the biggest of which is this is not how the Cowboys do business. And it is specifically not how they do business in this offseason. Deebo Samuel is due about $22 million this year. Now, you could restructure that money, push it off into the future, get that number down a little bit. Maybe the Niners eat some of it. I have my doubts on that front there. That's about $20 million more than the Cowboys are willing to pay players this offseason. Their biggest deals have been $3 million. For outside players, not including draft picks there as well. So it's a fun hypothetical, and I think the real logistics behind it, this is not how the Cowboys have done business. This is not what they want to do with their money. They don't want to trade away draft picks from that perspective. Now it's a bit more likely, I guess, with the current draft being over. We're talking like 2% to 3% here. That's why I don't believe this report, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But would you trade for Deebo Samuel? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on today's video, so that ad comes. It's great. Allow the ad to play instead. Go to the comment section. Sound off. Y for yes, N for no. Here's my accusation. I don't think this former NFL exec, who's given all these great scoops to NFL Analysis Network, I don't think he actually exists. I believe it is made up to generate attention and clicks. Here's what the exec told, allegedly, NFL Analysis Network. Jerry Jones is feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's still hoping to make a splash. As the offseason moves forward, I would not be shocked if the Cowboys reach out to the 49ers about Deebo Samuel. I would be. And there's the first indication that this exec, at minimum, doesn't know what he's talking about. It's the Jerry Jones wants to make a splash. We hear this every offseason, and it never materializes. They never make a splash in the offseason. The biggest thing they'll do is trade a 5th round, a day 3 pick for a veteran player. It's the biggest they've done in 10 years in the offseason. It's just not accurate. The exec has given several scoops on what he thinks the Dallas Cowboys will do. The unnamed NFL exec, speaking with NFL Analysis Network. Cowboys going to trade for T. Higgins. They're going to trade for Stephon Diggs this offseason. They're going to sign Jarvis Landry last offseason. They're going to sign Daron Payne. Sean Payton will be the next Cowboys head coach. He's 0 for 5. He has not gotten anything right. Like, I think this will happen. And about half of those, actually all of them, splash was included. It's the same thing. Same thing over and over again. So I think there are 2 options here. Number 1, this exec is fake. He doesn't exist. He's an urban myth. He's not real. Option 2, that they're not lying. They are talking to a former NFL exec. then he's stupid and you shouldn't be using him as a source. Your source has to be credible if you're going to use him. And when he's 0 for 5 and soon to be 0 for 6 once the Cowboys don't get Deebo, it'd be fun, but it's not going to happen. Okay, he's just wrong over and over again. Probably time to not utilize him as some great bastion of insider info when it's miss. Today's show was made possible by PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. NBA playoff action is underway, and you can get in on the action and win up to 100 times your money with PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the simplest, most fun, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. You're just picking more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, hoping you come out on top. I always advise the flex play with some exceptions. You know, if you're doing one of the demons or the goblins with lower payouts, don't do that because you're probably going to win that one. Go for the all-out power play there. Here's my NBA playoff flex play for tonight's action. The kind of little boost number is James Harden, just 17.5 points, which he's done 4 straight games in a row, so more than there. I got Jason Tatum, more than 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists in a potential closeout game. And Tyler Hero, less than 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think the Celtics take care of business against the Heat, so I kind of got 2 of those. But again, flex play so I can get one wrong. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Dameon Pierce trade rumors are back. He has been consistently linked to the Dallas Cowboys, most recently by Sports Illustrated or Athlon Sports. Mike Fisher's group, I'm not sure what the actual branding is these days since Sports Illustrated did get sold, but it's that crew over there. Running back trade makes sense, right? This is the worst running back room in the NFL. It's Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, our small king, Royce Freeman, Malik Davis, Snoop Connor, and Nate Pete at UDFA. Just not a good room. So I get why there's so many players getting linked to the Texans or to the Cowboys with the running back spot. I think that it will continue to be the case. Houston, though, I'm not convinced they're actually going to shop Dameon Pierce. The argument is, well, they signed Joe Mixon. I'm like, yeah, that was the Devin Singletary replacement. You know, is Ogunbowale, who's like a partly kicker too, which is fun. Is he going to be your backup? Is Rod Dokes going to be your backup? Is late 6th round pick Jawar Jordan going to be a backup for you? I think that if you trade Pierce, they have a gaping hole at RB2. And for teams that use rotations, I would doubt they trade away the super cheap guy unless they got something good. Or if they're all the way out on him, which we'll talk about. Would you trade for Dameon Pierce? Let's say it's one of those 5th round comp picks that you can flip and get for him. T for trade or P for pass. The big issue as it relates to Dameon Pierce was he was a very productive football player in his first year with the Houston Texans. 4.3 yards per carry. Almost got a 1,000-yard campaign on just 220 carries. And then his production fell off a cliff. Pierce went from a 4.3 yard per carry back in 2022 to under 3 yards a carry in 2023. He was legitimately one of the worst backs in football last season. So we have to acknowledge that. It would be reckless to assume, you're guaranteed to get 2022 Dameon Pierce. He was promising as a first-year player. Maybe the scheme fit wasn't a good thing for him, whatever. But that is a very valid, wait a minute, we made a big deal about the Cowboys adding all these, 4-ish yard per carry backs. Now you're adding a sub-3 one? At least the youth side and the 2022 campaign gives you a little bit more hope. That has to be mentioned in any conversation about Dameon Pierce. There are several backs I think this team could look to potentially pursue. We mentioned some on Monday's show. We'll probably do a more in-depth video on it as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed, and let's make sure we're winning the May sub battle. We'll check in on this throughout the month. Of course, everyone's starting at 0. Cowboys Report has 0. Giants Now has 0. Let's make sure we win. Hit that sub button right now. I've seen Zay Jones mentioned, and I've asked about it several times too. Like, hey, could the Cowboys add him? Maybe. You know, he was cut by the Jags. They drafted Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round. The Cowboys receiving room looks like this. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, late day 3 picks, Jalen Brooks, Ryan Flournoy, some previous UDFAs people like, and Jalen Cropper. Racey McMath is a sleeper to fight for a roster spot because of his special teams value, by the way. Martavis Bryant. They brought back Tyron Billy Johnson. David Durden offers some speed this team doesn't really have much of there. My issue with the wide receiver room, and this is true for a couple of different teams, not unique just to Dallas, but we're talking about the Cowboys here. Your number one receiver goes down, you are in big trouble. Then it's Brandon Cooks, Tolbert, and Turpin, and the wide receiver 3 I think is going to be a good battle in camp this year. But I don't know how much Zay Jones fixes those issues. The Jags cut him because he just wasn't very good last year. He had good production in 2022. He also had 10 drops, which is a lot. So I do get anxious, about, like, if you promise me 2022 Zay Jones and I can fix the drop issues, okay. I think, like, in terms of the veteran receivers on the market, he's probably one of the better ones out there. I just wonder if it's a bit more of we added a body to add a body, as opposed to, hey, we added a potential impact piece or added someone that can help us out in the event of injuries. Might be a guy you wait and God forbid something happens, knock on wood, pray to God it doesn't. Maybe then it starts to make even more sense for you. So would you add Zay Jones? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off in the comments. We do have the in-depth contract details now for the Ezekiel Elliott signing. Shout out to Todd Archer of ESPN. It is a 1-year deal for Elliott. The maximum money here is $3 million. Nothing above that for the Cowboys and for Zeke. Up to $3 million, again, is the money on that front there. The base salary is $1.25 million. That is basically the veteran minimum. The difference here, what the above the vet minimum stuff is, a minimal signing bonus, $375K, and per game roster bonuses, which are all likely to be earned because he played every game last year, up to $375K as well. So basically, this is the vet minimum plus $750,000, which is not technically guaranteed, but it also kind of is because it just assumes he's going to play, and if he plays, he gets it. So you're slightly above the vet minimum there. I know there had been some claims like, you overpaid Zeke, and I'm like, you guys know my thoughts on the Zeke signing in general. It's not technically a 1-year deal with little to no guaranteed money because there is good guaranteed money, but I think if we're complaining over the difference between a good signing and a bad signing being less than $1 million, that doesn't really carry much weight to me. Same with he's counting 6. Nah, that's dead money. I don't care about the leftover money. That's a non-factor in it for me. It's that, if he's your number one back, I'm not sure things went too well. There are some incentives here. If he gets to 1,100 scrimmage yards, and the Cowboys make the playoffs for all of these, additional $250K, 10 touchdowns, there's your over-under. 9.5 touchdowns for Ezekiel Elliott this year. That's the over-under we're setting. 250K there. 51% playing time, which if he plays, great, but I don't know about that one there being a good thing to hit. But in general, you want to pay out the incentives because it means the guy that you paid did well, in theory. All total, those plus playoffs is an additional $1 million.